In this lesson we will discuss how to make your images sharper. Sharpening can significantly enhance the clarity and detail of your photos, making them more visually appealing. Today we will explore 3 powerful tools for sharpening images: the high-pass filter, the Unsharp mask, and the Sharpen tool. Now let's get started. So here we have our image, and let's start discussing the first tool, the high-pass filter. The high-pass filter is a great tool that allows you for precise control over the sharpening process. This technique is really easy and fast, and in only a few passages your photos will look sharper. First, let's duplicate the layer with Command J for Mac or Ctrl J for Windows. Now let's select Filter, Other, High Pass. Now you need to adjust the radius slider until the details that you want to sharpen are visible, but also you want to avoid creating halos or artifacts. So let's, for example, increase the radius until here. You can see that now the text is visible, maybe just a little less because here you can see some halos. So yeah, let's keep like this, and now let's select OK. Now let's change the blending mode of the high pass layer to overlay or soft light. Let's select overlay, and now let's take a look at the before and after. Before and after. You can see that now the image is sharper, the text also is sharper, the details are sharper. If you think that the effect is too much, you can also decrease here the opacity. So before and after. As you can see, this technique is really fast and easy. So now we are going to discuss the second tool, the Unsharp mask, but before let's call this layer high pass filter, and let's turn it off for this moment. Now let's press again on the layer number 0, and let's duplicate the layer with Command J for Mac or Ctrl J from Windows, and now let's call this layer Unsharp mask. Basically, the Unsharp mask is the classic sharpening tool in Photoshop, offering precise control over sharpening options. Here is how we use it. Let's go to Filter, Sharpen, and let's select Unsharp mask. Here you can see that we have different options: amount, radius and threshold, and this option controls the sharpening effect. Also here we have a preview of the image, so let's for example tap here on the text, and we can see also how the effect is displaying here. So the first slider, amount, control the strength of the sharpening effect. If we increase this value, we will intensify the sharpening, while if we reduce the value, the effect will be much softer. You can see here. So let's give for example this value around 60, I think it will be fine. The radius slider determines the size of the sharpening halo around edges. More radius is suitable for fine details, while a large radius works better for broader edges. So right now let's give for example around 5. And then we have the third option, threshold. This slider sets the minimum contrast difference that the sharpening effect will be applied to. Higher threshold value will protect the low contrast area from being sharpened, reducing the risk of noise enhancement. We can see that now if we increase this value, then the effect is softer because this option is protecting these areas, while if we decrease this value, we can see that now the text, for example, it looks sharper. So let's keep the threshold around 2. And now once you are satisfied, let's press OK. So here you can take a look at the before and after. You can see that now the text is definitely sharper than before. Also, the whole image is sharper. Of course, also for this technique, if you think that the effect is too strong, you can adjust here the opacity. Now let's turn off this layer for the moment, and let's duplicate again this other layer here because we want to discuss the third option, the Sharpen tool. So let's duplicate the layer with Command J for Mac or Ctrl J for Windows, and let's call this layer Sharpen tool. So the third tool that we are going to discuss is the Sharpen tool. The Sharpen tool provides a more localized approach to sharpening, allows you to selectively sharpen specific areas of your image. We need to select the Sharpen tool from the toolbar. It's this triangle here that you can see. And then we can see that here we can control different options. Here we have the size and the hardness of our brush. Then here we have the mode, and we can choose between normal, dark and light, and hue, saturation, color and luminosity. And here we can set the strength. So the mode submenu in the Sharpen tool determines how the sharpening effect interacts with the color and the tones in your image. Here you can choose the option that is best for your picture. In general, normal is the mode that applies the sharpening effect without any color or tonal adjustment. Then you use darken when the sharpening effect is primarily applied to darker area of your image, preserving highlights and preserving hover sharpening in bright regions. Then you use lighten when the sharpening is focused on lighter areas of your image, providing a balanced enhancement across different tonal range. You use hue when the sharpening is applied based on the hue of the color in the image, allowing for selective sharpening of specific color range. Then you use saturation when the sharpening effect is influenced by the saturation of colors, with more pronounced sharpening on high saturated areas. Then you use color if you want to apply the sharpening based on the actual colors in the image. And then last, you use luminosity if you want to apply the sharpening based on the luminosity in your image. So for example, if we want to apply the sharper effect in the text in our image, we are going to select darken. Now let's zoom in a little bit. Then here we have the strength, which is the option that controls the intensity of the sharpening effect. Of course, if we increase this option, the effect will be much intense, while if we decrease this option, then the effect will be more delicate. So let's set, for example, around 60. Then we just need to brush over the areas that we want to sharpen. You can see here already how the text looks sharper compared with before. Let's take a look at the before and after. Before and after. So this tool is really useful if you want to sharpen only specific areas of your image. Now let's zoom out a little bit. And there you have it, 3 powerful tools for sharpening your images in Photoshop. I recommend you to experiment with these tools to find the workflow that best suits your needs. Now we can take a look at all these 3 tools together if you want to compare them. So here we have the Sharpen tool, here we have the Unsharp mask, and here we have the high pass filter. Like I just mentioned it, there is not the best tool to use, it's just that each tool is different and is the best to use according to your situation and to your photos. Of course, all these 3 techniques will make your photos look sharper.